Hi everyone, in this video we're gonna go through when to harvest sweet potatoes. So there's two types of sweet potatoes out there, bush type and vine type. Usually the sweet potatoes are ready to harvest once the vines start to turn yellow. This can either be between 90 to 120 days or 170 days to 200 days depending on the variety. Although unlike your regular potato plant, sweet potatoes will continue to grow as long as the weather stays warm. But you should generally be safe to harvest sweet potatoes within the recommended harvest time labeled on the variety that you picked. So for this video, we're going to be harvesting the sweet potato at different ages. But anyway, let's buy some slips. Some stores might sell it as a root, you can get that too. For this video, we're going to be using the orange or golden variety, which is a vine type. This one's ready to harvest between 90 to 180 days. Also, here's a root that developed some slips. I recommend planting these over developed slips that have been growing in the pot for a while. So make sure you top up your pots with new compost and some fertilizer. I'm going to be harvesting them at 90 days, 120 days, and over 170 days. We're only planting one slip per pot. Once done, add some mulch and give it a good water. Because this is a vine type, we're also going to be adding some sticks for it to climb on. In most cases, these plants will actually need some help to climb on these. You can also do this with the bush variety with a lot of assistance, but you won't get too far with it. Also, I will be harvesting some extra sweet potato plants for this video. Anyway, here we are 2 months later. Your plants may or may not flower, that's not an indication of anything. Here we have some nice long vines growing. These are also edible too. The young tips of the vines are harvested and used for stir fry. At this stage, you might start to see some roots sticking out. Here we are a month later, the plant is now 90 days old. And as you can see, we have some sweet potato roots sticking out. And let's begin to harvest the first set of 90-day-old sweet potatoes. Let's see what kind of results we're going to get. And it seems we already got some decent sized roots. So there are a lot of twisted roots, but this is why I recommend planting a new slip, so you end up with nice straight sweet potatoes. So I ended up getting 2.9 kilos from one pot at 90 days old. So 90 days old was the earliest recommended harvest time, and we already got some decently large sized sweet potatoes. But these potatoes still have a lot of growing potential, but at this stage they're nice and sweet and ready for eating. So I'll be harvesting another 2 pots also at 90 days old, and we're gonna see how consistent the yield is. So this yield also ended up weighing 2.9 kilos, which is pretty good. These sizes right here are quite perfect. Now let's check the third pot. Looks like this plant has developed some nice roots. A nice beautiful cluster of roots. So this yield surprisingly matched the others, weighing 2.9 kilos as well. So it seemed like we were able to obtain a good average from these 90-day-old sweet potatoes. So unlike regular potatoes, if you harvest them too early while the skin is thin and they're still developing, they will start to soften and rot in storage. While these sweet potatoes are not at full maturity, they have a better storage ability. Just leave the dirt on, let them dry out, and they should be good. Now it's time to harvest our set of 120-day-old sweet potatoes. With an additional 30 days, let's see what kind of results we get. So it looks like we got some nice root growth at the bottom of the pot. Seems we got some larger sweet potatoes with more roots to harvest as well. So with the additional 30 days, we zoomed past the 3 kilo mark, with a total yield of 4.2 kilos. So growing up to 120 days, this yield became quite successful. But let's harvest 2 more pots and see how consistent this is. These are good sized sweet potato roots, quite perfect actually. I'll do the third pot right now and we'll look at the weights at the end. This one produced some nice quality sized sweet potatoes. From the 2 additional pots from 120 days, we got one weighing 3.6 kilos and the other one weighing 3.2 kilos. So those 2 last plants underperformed, but they still passed the 3 kilo mark. So the yield wasn't too consistent, but we did have evidence of the potential to reach over 4 kilos within 120 days. So around this stage, these are more of your ideal type of sweet potatoes. Also around this time, these roots are a bit more mature, meaning they'll have a better shelf life. Now it's time to harvest the sweet potatoes around 170 days old to 210 days old. The sweet potatoes I harvested for this part actually have their own video. If you want to watch the full harvest, link in the description. But anyway, let's get to it. So from this first pot, as you can see, we got some nice, very large sweet potato roots. This is growing from a 170 day old plant. So most of these sweet potatoes have reached full maturity, just a skin texture and a slight difference in their hue. So even the difference from picking from the youngest one of this set, which is 170 days old, this is a 50-day jump from 120 days.
These ones are really nice.
So from this plant, we already got a whooping 7 kilos. This here already is already enough to cover quite a few meals. And as you can see, we got some very nice large roots that you'd find at the store. Now onto the second part. I did harvest other varieties from this set, but I'm only showing the orange varieties for this video as that was the chosen example, and to keep the consistency correct, as other varieties can differ in weight depending on when they reach full maturity. Seems we got a nice set of sweet potatoes over here. Let's check the weight. So the yield from the second pot only reached 5.1 kilos. So 2 kilos less from the first pot, but as you can see from the skin, this has reached full maturity. Time for pot number 3, let's see what we get.
Check that out.
Looks like this one ended up growing a lot of roots, which is nice.
Okay, right there. Lovely. Here we go. Long one. Wait. It's as long as my forearm again. Oh, we still got more.
And from pot number 3, we got a total of 9 kilos. So this one ended up a lot heavier, which is quite rewarding. I think the positioning and the amount of sunlight this plant had played a big role in the long run. So even at this stage, your plant can still produce on the smaller side depending on how many roots grew. Alright, I'm going to use some more examples for this stage. We're going to be harvesting a potato plant that's grown for 210 days. And as you can see from this stage, we got quite the harvest.
Got a bit of Eden there, but that's fine.
So with the additional 40 days on top of 170 days, we ended up with a total yield of 11.4 kilos, which is quite amazing. We'll also do another pot at 210 days as well. And the total yield for this plant also ended up around 11 kilos. So it's around this stage where you can start to get some monster-sized sweet potatoes to show off to your friends and family. I'll show this harvest as a final example for potential wise. This plant here also growing for 210 days in a much larger growing space. I ended up growing some monster sizes with a total yield of 24 kilos, which is quite nuts. So here's all the yields from all 3 examples. So we're just going to skip the middle one and focus on 90 days and over 170 days. So for 90 days, which is the earliest recommendation for harvesting this variety, we ended up with a consistent 2+ kilo harvest, which is a pretty good yield already. But these sweet potatoes have a lot of potential to grow. As for storing, most of the large ones should last you some time. But if we waited it out till full maturity, or at the end of the growing season, you're going to end up with those large chunky sweet potato roots, as well as the maximum yield that you can get. Those mature roots will last you the longest in storage. And there you have it. I hope this video has helped you out. If you needed to harvest your sweet potatoes early, you could be safe to harvest around 60 days. You'd probably get around a kilo, but don't quote me on that. We don't have the evidence from this video. If you wanted to, you can probably dig around to harvest some sweet potato roots. But as you saw from the video, some of the roots can be quite low in the pot or even at the bottom of the pot. But if you want a lot of large sweet potatoes to store away in the winter, let the plant reach full maturity once the leaves start to yellow. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you want to see more of these type of videos from me, don't forget to like and subscribe.
The heck? Oh my god.
Bruh, what is this?
It's sprouting. Oh, it is sprouting.